UNIQLO, A Supply Chain Going Global by DeAndre Brown, Leland Jackson, Malcolm Smith, and Jordan Wardell.
Hello, my name is Leland Jackson. I'm a senior accounting major from Champaign, Illinois, and I'll be taking care of the case background. So, UNIQLO is a designing, manufacturing, and retailing company based in Japan, and it was founded in 1984. Initially, it was just a family-owned business that went by the name of Shoji Company, and that company only sold men's suits. But after the founder and CEO Tadashi Yanai purchased the business in 1984, he renamed it under the brand name Unique Clothing Warehouse and opened the first store in Hiroshima. It was here where they changed the selling product from ready-made men's suits to affordable basic casual wear. Instead of placing their focus on fashion trends, Yanai wanted the company to focus mainly on quality and price by adopting a counter-current approach, as well as focusing on direct customer feedback in order to provide a better experience for their customers and give them what they really wanted. And this is actually a very key a move by them, and you'll see why in a couple moments. But it was here where they began their rapid growth and popularity with the release of the new Polar Fleece jacket, new product. And this ultimately set them up and gave them their first step into becoming the #1 fashion retailer in the world. Now, I said that it was real important that they focused on customer feedback for them, at least, because of the cultural environment that they're in. Based in Japan, which where UNIQLO was, it was a part of the most attractive market for apparel producers, and that being the Asian market, which had an annual growth rate of about 9.5% between the years of 2014 and 2018. Now, China had accounted for 1/3 of the entire regional market demand, and this was estimated to be around $340 billion US dollars. Now, it was because of the great economic development that occurred in China over the past few decades that allowed them to increase their number in their middle class, ultimately making them, on their way to being the largest middle class in the world. And this was a great advantage for UNIQLO, focusing their customer or giving their focus to customer feedback because ultimately they had the greatest market at their hands. And if they can give them what they wanted, that would only call for a greater return. So that's what they chose to do. But with Asia being the largest market, that calls for more competition as well. So the competitive environment was pretty substantial within China and within Asia. UNIQLO pioneered the special store retailer of private label apparel in Japan, which was a model successfully used by Gap over here in the United States, as well as for many major fast fashion companies. Now, Inditex, which was at the time, and I'm talking about in 2014, at this time, Inditex was the world's leading apparel retailer, having 500 stores in China. Gap had actually put some of their focus away from their U.S. stores and more into the network into China, putting up 80 stores in China and 34 alone in 1 year, which was 2013. H&M also had plans of expanding their network in China as well, opening 80 to 90 stores in 2015. But out of all of their competition, UNIQLO did have the most aggressive expanding plan with an aim to open 100 new stores each year, adding to their already open and operating 340 stores that was open as of February in 2015. They had a target of opening 1,000 stores by 2020, and I believe they just barely came up under that target by 20%. So I believe they have around 800 stores open in China right now. But yeah, the great advantage that the Asian market had, it has brought great competition as well. But UNIQLO has been setting themselves up to get in the position to get past their competition, with hopefully being able to find adequate supply chain method for them so that it can work for them over in the States as well as over in Europe. Thank you.
All right, so the key issues that we're looking to solve are: what can UNIQLO do to enhance its supply chain in order to become the leading global apparel retailer? And what should they do to grow their market in areas like US and Europe, since most of their market is based in China and East Asia? And will they be able to create a strong presence amongst strong competition like Zara, H&M, and Gap, which are dominating the Western market?
Malcolm, for speaking on these key issues. So first we want to look at, as Malcolm spoke of that production and sourcing, how are we going to set that up in the United States and Europe? So first we looked at, how many products is UNIQLO producing compared to its competitors? And when you look at that, you see Zara and H&M are producing vast more products than UNIQLO in this sector. When you look at it, UNIQLO only produces around like 2,000 items compared to, Zara and H&M producing over 5,000 items. And what we saw the importance of this is one thing is sustainability. So when you look at sustainability, UNIQLO is producing way less items on hand than H&M and Zara. And as you know, fast fashion, there's a need to throw away clothes and get rid of. And insight and data has shown that consumers are moving away from that and moving away from H&M and those brands, and more want this, new brands where sustainability and you're not wasting as much resources on those clothes. So we thought that's actually kind of great in a way that they have a low product offering, but also sometimes a weakness because, the American market wants so much. So it can be swayed both ways. Next, we look at the number of stores they have in Europe and North America. With that, we see that UNIQLO has a low number of stores in Europe and North America compared to, its competitors. H&M, Zara, and the Gap even have over 1,000 stores in this sector. We think UNIQLO can grow in this sector, right? There's so much room, they have such great production and quality control in China, and just outsourcing and getting that product to the United States, we think they can grow and, build a great brand. Next, we want to look at a SWOT analysis. First, let's start off with the strengths of UNIQLO. One of the biggest strengths is the quality, right? The Takumi team that oversees the process of manufacturing and the quality of UNIQLO's products is such a great addition of the team. They, make that brand name and quality in those steps that is so vital in UNIQLO gaining that Asian market share and gaining 35% of the profits that they've done recently in 2019 in that Asian market. And next we want to look at, though, is weaknesses. What are some of the weaknesses that UNIQLO face, and what are some of the weaknesses they can work on? One of the biggest is, again, being in the European and North American market. They are struggling a bit to gain that market share. But we think they can easily, if they just focus on that, gain a little bit more and be a player in that market share. Another weakness is, again, those low product offerings. We think, it also can be seen, again, as a sustainability. So it may be a weakness, but it also may be an opportunity. Next, we want to look at threats. Again, your threats are your big name competitors, and the movement away from the fast fashion resale industry. That is also a threat. So when looking at that, you want to make sure that you're just minimizing those threats and mitigating them as best as possible. Next, we want to look at opportunities. I think this is the biggest thing. Obviously, they have an opportunity to grow in the European and North American market. But one of the biggest things we want to focus on is standardization versus adaptation. We think, in the Asian markets, they were able to standardize their product because they had such a great brand name and such great quality that it worked. But in the North American market, in Europe, some of these consumers don't know that product brand name and that quality and what it's for. So they have to adapt to this market, to get out, whether it be marketing, more e-commerce sales. They have to figure out a way to adapt to this market and figure it out. And lastly, we wanted to look at, e-commerce sales. They have such a big opportunity. They only had 4% in 2015 of total sales being e-commerce, and that grew to 12% in 2020, which was nice to see. But also, their CEO has gone on and talked about how they want to have 30% of sales be from e-commerce. And we think, with more marketing and more branding, they can easily, again, grow that e-commerce in which is the biggest player in today's game. And, just working out how to do that is one of the most important things they can do.
So as we know, UNIQLO is a very fast-growing company, and over 35% of UNIQLO's profits do come from China, and this partially has to do with the large amount of disposable income, and also since they were able to create such a product that was very wanted by a lot of consumers. However, in order for them to really be top competitors with Zara, H&M, and Gap, they really need to broaden outside of just there, but they need to start going more towards North America and Europe in a faster rate than they currently are. By increasing this growth, they will definitely see, we believe that they will definitely see huge and better outcomes. Also, they need to really increase their online e-commerce. This is so important, especially nowadays, because that's the way in which society is starting to run. A lot of people are starting to function and buy things from the palm of their hands. So by not having that accessible, they are losing out on a lot of business. And that's also something that Zara, H&M, and Gap have all done as well. So, and by looking at the SWOT analysis, it really helps us to really break down everything to get to the conclusions that we were able to come up with. So we really hope that you all enjoyed our presentation. And yeah, thank you.